So a short video here talking about comm tower impacts on detection lookouts. Um, Mostly just a bunch of pictures so we can kind of describe and explain how the components on those comm towers affect our ability to use our detection lookouts for wildfire detection. This is a busy site here. Most of ours are not nearly this crowded. And by no means are we ever going to stop putting up comm towers up and around our detection lookouts. It's just a perfect place for them. There's too many things lined up for it. But if we're aware of what some of those impacts are and how we can minimize those impacts to detection, possibly we can do a better job. So this is a view from a lookout. This one happens to be Aldrich, but key point here is as we put towers and antennas up, we impair our ability to see. We impair our abilities in detection. We already have comm towers on some, if not most, of our sites, but how do we minimize the impact on detection? Probably the key piece here is skyline and recognizing what the angles are towards the skyline. So this would be our skyline, where the ground meets the sky is simply it. And any attachments on that tower should be above that line. Put them up here and they're not affecting our ability to, well, they're minimally affecting our ability to actually see smokes out there from a detection lookout. It's pertinent for a camera too, if that was the route that we were going. In fact, might even be more pertinent because you can't lean around it to see around it as well. So another picture, different lookout. Again, I'm looking at that skyline, right? If there was a tower here, I'd want anything mounted on that tower to be above this line when viewed from the lookout itself. You can see how even a small fire out here at distance can easily be blocked by small attachments to a comm tower. So the less stuff we put in their way to be able to see through, the more effective we're going to be at detection. So I don't have a lot of great pictures of this, but we'll go with what I have. So as you can see through the towers. I can see through these gaps in these holes. Every little bit of this tower is certainly blocking something, and it makes it harder to see. You can lean a little bit to kind of see around items in there, but still, it breaks it up. It makes it harder to scan. But that's just the tower. It's not like we're going to get rid of the tower. What we can do, what we do have control over, is some of the attachments on the tower. The affected area here, just by the tower itself, is roughly 70 miles. We can still see through it, just not as well as we could if it wasn't there. Again, it's not like we're going to get rid of that tower. The tower is going to be there. But if we can minimize its additional impacts, that would be ideal. So things that are attached to the tower, if we put things above that skyline here, it makes it easier to see. It impacts our view shed less. For example, this microwave dish here, well, boy, if it was 6-8 inches higher, it'd be even better. But at least it's not 6 or 8 inches lower and affecting 20 square miles. Now it's only covering a few square miles, quite a ways out there. And there's another lookout that covers that. So probably not a huge issue. So this is good. I would consider this microwave dish good. Okay, we also have a low horizon line. So this guy right here in front of you, that's easy to see stuff on. And keeping stuff below that low horizon line also is a viable option. For example, these antennas here and here are mounted, the main mounts on those are below the lower skyline, lower horizon line. And while this antenna juts up in here and certainly makes it a little more difficult to see, it's a reduced impact. The mount would make it more difficult to see than this simple antenna, which is a thin thing. Ideally, having these mounted in a way so that I didn't have that through my view shed would be best. Put it further up the tower, but there's only so much space on the tower and things have to be separated for radio frequency reasons. That all makes sense. It's all we can do. Now on the right, so it's got all these little antennas here, and these guys are below that initial close in lower skyline, right? So they don't really affect all that much. This antenna up here, mostly it's this mount that has the biggest effect. I'm sure the antenna itself is a little bit too, but that antenna isn't ideal. It'd be nice if it was 4 feet higher, but it's manageable. It probably blocks maybe 40 acres. You can see around it with a little bit of leaning, but it does make it much more difficult to initially detect something. Definitely clutters the view. Here you go, that microwave dish. Microwave dishes are the worst because they're large and solid and you can't see around them very well. This one's great because it's below that initial skyline. There's really nothing it's blocking, and then this one's above it, so that's really good. So here we have a fire. This guy right here. At that, it's a significant fire. This picture is magnified a little bit. It's shot through optics, but a tower with a microwave dish in front of this could easily block this view, and even an FM antenna would impede it or delay your ability to detect it. So keeping those things above skyline would definitely help. When I'm reporting this smoke, I'm not looking at the top smoke as much as I am looking at where it's coming from. I need to be able to lock in this location to get firefighters on scene. This one's not quite as magnified. Here's the fire. This guy right here. Disregard this lookout. This fire is like 25 acres. And the point of this picture is to just demonstrate what a 25-acre fire can look like from a lookout tower and how attachments on a CommSite antenna could affect that. Easily be blocked by things hanging off the tower, especially a microwave dish that was below that skyline. And even the FM antennas can inhibit that initial report. Remember, this is a 25-acre fire, whereas a 10th acre fire is not much bigger than the little red dot I'm wiggling around here. And of course, 10th acre fires is where we want to find them. So this would be a small to medium dark column. It's probably half an acre. And the farther out it gets, the harder it is to see, the smaller it is, the whole depth perception piece. And the smaller it gets, the farther out it is, the easier it is for an antenna to block it. So that's what I'm looking for when I'm reporting the smoke, and it doesn't take a lot to block that. In fact, I'm questioning why we haven't cut the top out of this tree here, because it's blocking quite a bit of acreage. So here we have a comm site next to a lookout tower. Hard to see that skyline on a cloudy day, but it's kind of out in here. That would be our main skyline. And you'll note that every single one of these antennas is mounted, and the microwave especially is mounted above this skyline. Okay, you can see through this, but that's not very easy to do. These extra attachments just block more and more ground. You can't get away from having a tower. You got to get stuff up off the ground, and better yet, get all these antennas and microwave dishes above that skyline for the lookout. This would be considered a pretty good tower from a detection standpoint to have to deal with. Even though it is difficult to see through the tower, it is doable. But all the attachments are above the skyline. And that is the key, and that's kind of what we're trying to encourage.